Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the virtual launch to the UN Economic Commission for Europe, UNECE, and FAO publication on circularity concepts in the pulp and paper industry. I'm Delphine Babin-Pelliard from the FAO Liaison Office in Geneva, and it's my pleasure today to moderate this exciting sessions, where we will explore the future of the pulp and paper industry through the lens of circular economy and sustainability. I'm pleased to welcome our speakers online and our colleagues at the FAO Liaison Office in Brussels. We have an interesting agenda today with presentations from industry actors and practitioners. We are implementing circular economy principles in the pulp and paper sector. After the presentation, we will have a Q&A session where we invite you to engage directly with our experts. I encourage you to think about the question you may have for panelists during the event. Participants can post questions in the Q&A on Zoom, and we will do our best to answer the questions in writing or during the discussion at the end of the session. So speaker, please, thank you for keeping to the time allocated for your interventions to ensure time for other speakers and the Q&A. And please also note that this webinar will be in English only. It was for a few points of introduction, and now to open the session, I'm pleased to hear from Rachad Al-Kafaji, the director of the FAO Liaison Office in Brussels, who is co-hosting today's event and will tell us about the relevance of this work to FAO. Rachad, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, your colleagues in Geneva. Dear Director General of the Confederation of European Paper Industry, CEPI, my dear friend Jory Ringman, my dear colleague Ulrich Leberle, the Raw Material Director. I'm very happy to have both of the gentlemen here with us today in person. This is a new step for the Liaison Office that we are also joining. We learned from Geneva to do hybrid meetings of having part of the attendance in person. I'm very pleased to see that this has worked out, and I welcome both gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, depending on where you are connected to today's event. As was mentioned, my name is Rachad Al-Kafaji. I'm the director of the FAO Liaison Office in Brussels. And it is my true pleasure to welcome you to this hybrid event under the title Pulp and Paper Industry, How to Make the Circular Economy Work. This event is the result of a collaborative effort jointly organized by the UN Economic Commission for Europe, UNECE, and FAO Forestry and Timber Section, as well as the FAO liaison offices here in Brussels and in Geneva, and in coordination with the NFO Forestry Division in Rome. And we're very, very grateful to all partners. And in that sense, I want to extend my warm appreciation to also all our distinguished participants, whether you're joining us in person or participating online. Today, we celebrate the launch of the new publication, Circularity Concepts in the Pulp and Paper Industry, which reflects the joint efforts of the Forestry and Timber Section and the FAO Forestry Division in Rome. Contributions from members of the FAO Advisory Committee on Sustainable Forest Industries have also been crucial to this publication, and this is why I am particularly delighted to have with us in Brussels Jory Ringman, aforementioned Director General of the Confederation of European Paper Industry, CEPI, as well as Ulrich Leberle, the Director of Raw Materials at CEPI. Both their expertise has significantly enriched this publication. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, despite the shift towards a more digital world, paper continues to play an essential role in our lives. In packaging, printing, and protecting goods across supply chains, products made from paper and paperboard are crucial to the smooth functioning of industries, and they are integrated in our daily activities. We have seen how cellulose-based products are making their way into entirely new sectors, where these fibers are creating groundbreaking opportunities. These innovations show the immense potential of the pulp and paper sector to evolve beyond its historical roots. And I can only draw attention again to an excellent exhibition that CEPI had during our last Committee on Forestry in Rome, and then afterwards here in Brussels, showing some of this immense potential for innovative uses of fibers in that sense, coming from the cellulose-based. One of the most encouraging aspects of this transformation is the industry's focus on sustainability. The shift from using virgin fibers to maximizing recycled paper means significantly advancing circularity within the industry. They focus on improving recycling rates and developing more efficient recycling processes, such as de-inking and fiber recovery technologies, is helping to minimize environmental impacts. These efforts are certainly closely aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and in particular SDG 12, which calls for responsible production and consumption. Improving resource efficiency, reducing waste, and minimizing environmental impacts are key steps toward building a more sustainable and resilient future. At FAO, we are committed to supporting the development of a sustainable bioeconomy. And by the way, FAO is the United Nations agency where bioeconomy has been elevated to a strategic priority level. That shows you the importance that is given to it. Through our technical expertise, data, and policy guidance, we help policymakers create strategies for the sustainable management of natural resources. Circularity lies at the heart of these efforts, enabling industries like pulp and paper to address pressing challenges such as climate change and resource efficiency. Today's event also underscores the power of global collaboration. From Europe to Brazil, South Africa, the case studies we will explore highlight how cooperation among industry, policymakers, and other stakeholders can drive meaningful change. By working together, we can scale up circular practice necessary to meet future demands while protecting our planet. With that, I would like to thank you all once again for joining us. And without further ado, I will now hand over the floor back to our moderator, and I look forward to an enriching, informative, and interesting discussion ahead. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Rashad. And now I'm pleased to hand over to Mrs. Paula Deda, Director of the UNECE Forestry and Timber Section, who will provide pre-recorded opening remarks on the significance of this publication in the context of the circular economy.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I'm very pleased to welcome you to the launching event of the joint ECE-FAO study, Circularity Concepts in the Pulp and Paper Industry. It is a true pleasure for me to share the results of our work that explores one of the most significant and timely topics in the intersection of industry and sustainability. The pulp and paper sector is a critical industry for the global economy, producing goods essential to everyday life. Although they are often invisible to the end consumer, besides printing papers and packaging, paper and paperboard are increasingly present in diverse industrial applications. They are mixed with other materials, for example, in the production of banknotes or some furniture components. Innovative cellular-based products contribute to increased material efficiency and to the creation of value-added products from side streams. Examples include additives and solvents in the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industries, textile fibers, bioplastics, polymers, and resins, etc. However, the sector also faces increasingly challenges in minimizing its environmental footprint, managing resources responsibly, and adapting to evolving consumer demands for sustainable practices. Today, we are excited to share the findings of this study, which aims to explain the path towards greater circularity in this vital sector. The concept of the circular economy, where products, materials, and resources are kept in use for as long as possible, is a key driver of the global transition towards sustainability. In this context, the pulp and paper industry, with its reliance on natural resources and its potential for waste recovery, is uniquely positioned to play a transformative role. By shifting towards circularity, we can reduce waste, enhance resource efficiency, and contributing to reducing carbon emissions. The study we are launching today is a product of collaboration between industry experts, sustainability advocates, and our partners across the UNECE region. It takes an in-depth look at how the pulp and paper industry can embrace circularity concepts through innovative technologies, new business models, and more efficient practices, while continuing to meet global demand for its products. As we explore these findings today, we will not only uncover the challenges that exist, but also celebrate the opportunities. Together, we will see how industry players, policymakers, and stakeholders can work together to accelerate this transformation. The road to circularity is not an easy one, but it is the one that is vital for the sustainable future of the industry. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all those who contributed to this study, CEPI, the private sector partners and experts in the field, as well as, of course, our team. As we move forward, let us remember that circularity is not just a concept, but a practical, actionable strategy that can unlock new avenues for growth, foster innovation, and create a more sustainable future for the pulp and paper sector and for the entire economy. Once again, thank you for joining us today. I look forward to the insightful presentations and the exchange of ideas that will emerge from this event as we continue our collaboration towards more circular approaches in the pulp and paper industry. Thank you.
And we are now going to hear from Mr. Zimin Wu, who is Director of the FAO Forestry Division, who has recorded a video message to provide FAO's perspective on circular economy in the pulp and paper industry and how it ties with FAO's strategic priorities.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it is my pleasure to address you today at the launch of the new UNECE FAO publication, Circularity Concepts in the Pulp and Paper Industry. This publication is the outcome of a successful collaboration between UNECE and FAO, including our experts in the FAO Forestry Division. It is an excellent example of the One UN approach. I'm pleased to see that members of the FAO Advisory Committee on Sustainable Forest Industries were involved in this work. Partnerships between FAO and the private sector are vital. I extend my heartfelt thanks to the Confederation of the European Paper Industries, which provided sectoral expertise for this publication. Despite a shift towards the digitalization of many aspects of our lives, paper and paperboard products are still widely used. For example, most industrial product supply chains continue to use paper and paperboard to protect goods during transport and handling. The industry is poised to advance well beyond the traditional sectoral frontiers of printing and packaging. Although they are often invisible to end users, innovative paper and paperboard products are increasingly applied in diverse industrial applications. For example, cellulose fibers mixed with other materials are being used to produce banknotes, furniture components, bioplastics, and sustainable textiles. Exciting innovations are enabling the applications of high-performance nanocellulose composites, which combine strength and lightness to the automotive and aerospace industries. Innovation in the sector is also being driven by practices aimed at meeting the requirements of environmentally conscious markets. Recycling and waste reduction are crucial components of this. Pulp production is changing, with less use of virgin fibers, more use of recycled fibers, and high paper recycling rates. companies are also innovating in de-inking, fiber recovery, and processing technologies to increase the efficiency and quality of recycled paper. The high rate of paper and paperboard reprocessing is a clear asset in moving towards a more circular economy. It is a fine accomplishment by the industry and compares favorably with the other sectors. By increasing the use of recycled pulp in the new paper products, companies are reducing the need for virgin materials and thereby minimizing negative impacts on forests and climate. The pulp and paper industry, therefore, is supporting a shift towards a bioeconomy and a more circular economy and promoting resource efficiency and waste reduction. It is also contributing to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, especially SDG 12 on sustainable production and consumption. FAO supports the development of a sustainable bioeconomy in line with SDGs by providing policy guidance, data, and technical support to assist policymakers in establishing and implementing national and regional strategies and action plans. Bioeconomy is one of the 20 program priority areas in the FAO Strategic Framework 2022 to 2031, making FAO the first and so far the only United Nations agency to have elevated bioeconomy to a strategic priority. Bioeconomy is a crucial pathway towards sustainable production and consumption and resource-efficient agri-food systems. FAO has developed the FAO Forestry Roadmap from Vision to Action 2024 to 2031 to guide its work in forestry. The roadmap places equal emphasis on the protective and productive functions of forests. It also stresses the role of innovation as a driving force for shaping the future of forests and the forestry sector. The global pulp and paper industry is undergoing a major transformation towards sustainability and circularity. Its successful efforts are evident in the publication we are launching today. Circularity Concepts in the pulp and paper industry shares science-based information and case studies of good practices towards sustainable production and building sustainable and resilient livelihoods, value chains, and bioeconomy. I commend it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Jory Ringman, Director General of the Confederation of European Paper Industries, CEPI, who will share insights into the sector's transformation and CEPI's role in advancing circular economy principles in pulp and paper. Mr. Ringman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, dear Rashad, it's an honor to be here today in your office to discuss the future of recycling and how paper industry is preparing for circular economy 3.0. As we gather, let's take a moment to reflect on how far we've come and where we are headed. The paper industry has always been part of circular economy, even before the term circular economy existed. In the 19th century, we were recycling textile rags into paper until the surge in demand, driven by the printing press, rising literacy, and industrialization, created the raw material crisis for us. Those who were supplying old textile, so rags, became very wealthy. And that actually coined the phrase from rags to riches. But this scarcity led to a game-changing discovery in our industry, seeing wood for the first time as a resource for cellulose. And this innovation reshaped our industry and demonstrated our capacity to adapt, to innovate, and to overcome. Fast forward to the late 20th century, the paper industry once again stepped up to lead Europe in recycling innovation. This for us was circular economy 2.0. Industry, researchers, and technology suppliers collaborated in extraordinary ways, defining standards like EN 643, which classified paper grades for recycling. We proved that recycled fibers could achieve what once seemed totally impossible. Europe became a global leader in recycling technology, and our achievements inspired others worldwide. But it wasn't just about innovation. It was also about recognition. Actually, my own career in paper industry started 20 years ago. I was given the mission to modernize the 1975 EU Waste Directive that didn't know anything about recycling. And in 2008, we finally succeeded in having waste recognized as a valuable resource. It was a turning point for our industry, cementing recycling as a key competitive advantage for Europe. And it was the small change in EU regulation that later grew into circular economy. Europe's expertise in recycling has been a global success story. Our technologies and best practices have set the standard, helping other regions improve their recycling systems. We've seen inspiring examples, like the stories of individuals who turned recycling into life-changing opportunities. I've had the honor of meeting in person Ms. Zhang Ying, who started working at a very young age, and then at her late 20s, began with all her life savings thus far, just under $4,000, and built one of the most successful paper recycling businesses in China and actually in the whole world. These stories remind us that circularity isn't just about materials. It's about people, creativity, and resilience. Now, as we move to circular economy 3.0, we face fresh challenges. High energy costs are impacting recycling mills, while shortages of key materials require us to adapt to more diverse feedstock. The era of abundance has given way to economy of scarcity. Yet with challenges come also opportunities. Agricultural residues, for instance, are emerging as a new additional source of fiber. Partnerships with farmers and innovations in biorefineries are opening exciting possibilities. Even RACs may make a comeback as we develop new concepts for textile fibers, as we already heard from the previous speakers. CEPI is already leading the charge. Through initiatives like Forever Green, and we will hear more about that in a while, we aim to achieve a 90% recycling rate for packaging by 2030, practically closing the loop. We are pushing boundaries, using every material, including residues and rejects, while working towards greater energy efficiency and even generating energy ourselves. But we cannot do this alone. To succeed, we need everyone at the table. Industry leaders, researchers, technology suppliers, policymakers, and local communities. The same spirit of collaboration that drove Circular Economy 2.0 must now propel us into Circular Economy 3.0. Together, we can ensure that recycling remains not just a success story, but the cornerstone of a sustainable future. Let's embrace this challenge with the confidence of our history, the strength of our partnerships, and the vision of what's next. It's time to join forces and shape a new era for the paper industry and beyond. In this, for us, FAO would be a partner of choice for ensuring progress not only in Europe, but globally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ringman, for giving us this historical overview of the paper industry, circular economy, but also for highlighting the challenges that lie ahead and the importance of mobilizing all the actors to meet these challenges. Now we turn to the core of today's event, the launch of the UNECE FAO publication on circularity concept in the pulp and paper industry. And Mr. Ulrich Leber, Raw Materials Director from CEPI, will provide an overview of the publication and discuss its key findings. Mr. Leber, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. My name is Ulrich Leberle, and I would like to thank, first of all, the FAO and UNECE Forest and Timber section, and particularly Alicia Karczak for really giving me the confidence to contribute to this study. I would also like to thank Rashad Al-Kafashi for hosting us here in FAO's office in Brussels, and I would like to thank all of those that have contributed in the study and in the review of the study. I would like to ask for the next slide because they are turned in Geneva. So you will see when having this in your hands or download it from UNECE's website, we have in this study looked at the circularity concepts at more large. So we are aware, of course, of for example, Ellen MacArthur's butterfly diagram with the biosphere and the technosphere and circularity in there, or the 9 R's reaching from reuse, rethink, recycle, and so forth, and then have looked at what is it that is really circularity in the pulp and paper industry, and it comes down really to 3 core principles. So the first one is reducing waste, but by design of products, then retaining the materials in circulation in the management of those products in product stage and in the waste stage, but then, and that is maybe not the third one, but the first one actually, it's restoring the systems from which resources are extracted through an active and sustainable approach to forest management, to embracing forest management principles that are actually restoring the ecosystem. So it's around those 3. And with these circularity principles for paper products, that is how we broaden actually the availability of that renewable raw material for all forest-based products. And since we are talking here about a study that is also part of a range of studies looking at also other parts of the forest-based bioeconomy, but by having more availability of raw material from renewable sources, we allow actually for a growing bioeconomy, which is then substituting fossil material and energy, and which is therefore contributing to sustainability at broader scale, and particularly also the restitution of carbon cycles and of sustainable carbon cycles and natural ecosystems. If we go to the next, so if we look at recycling rates and recycled content, we can observe that all in the world we have increasing recycling that is maybe not known, but also in the US, more than 80% of mills are using recovered paper, at least for some of it. In the EU, 2022, 83.2% of packaging has been recycled, and we have heard that we have even targets to go beyond, and we come to that. But paper and circularity of paper products is not in isolation. It is part of a wider principle of a cascading use of wood in the forest and wood sector, where actually byproducts from other industries are used, classically sawmilling byproducts. But then we hear about byproducts from other processes in agriculture, in the textile industry, and those residues end up as feedstocks in pulp mills. So this circularity is not limited to recycling mills. It takes place also in the virgin fiber side of the sector. And of course, the side streams are used in an innovative use. So while before they have been even discarded or then at least used as energy energy source now that is really where alternatives based on bio resources are produced in more and more biorefineries that are adding value to the classic pulp and paper processes. If we move to the next, please. So here we have an example that is about a stream where indeed different bio-streams are then going into materials, chemicals, into the food sector, feed sector, into pharmaceutical and cosmetics. And their production is not only based on chemical pulp, but also in paper mills and other processes, actually standalone processes connected to the pulp and paper industry. We see more and more of those biorefineries. Alone in Europe, 140 biorefineries producing more from pulp and therefore making resources available in other sectors and also creating synergies, for example, with other parts of the wood sector, where, for example, materials based on resins and glues are used in the construction sector that is building based on wood. If we go to the next, we've talked shortly before about also the other resources that from where the industry comes from and which are now seeing a new growing interest in different parts of the world, with for example bamboo or hemp that is used as a feedstock, with, for example, straw and textile waste that are used as byproducts and used for paper products. And in cases, for example, of miscanthus and other agricultural feedstocks, which are actually also having the side effects of restoring natural ecosystems in, for example, degraded agricultural areas. We have feedstocks that are both restoring those ecosystems and providing a raw material, an interesting raw material for the pulp and paper industries. But also in the processes, we can see, and you will see in the study, a chapter about the energy, the water, and the material consumption, which has been improving at great rates over the last 10, 15 years. Another aspect is lightweighting. I think here enhancing material efficiency, also there in packaging, but also in other applications, the same functionality achieved with lighter base waste is something where also the paper industry has been advancing at a great speed, and also over the last 5 years in times when, for example, more packaging had to be put on the market because of COVID crisis and an increased need of online deliveries that had to be packed, for example. If we move to the next, and here we come really to this core circularity feature that we have in pulp and paper, and that is widely recognized also by a wider public as the core feature of circularity in the paper industry, which is recycling. So also non-experts who may not be that much aware of the new products or the way sustainable forest management takes place, they have an easy connect to recycling, because they know that their paper is a material that doesn't go to waste, but it does go to a different route through the paper collection. But what is really crucial is that actually the design for recycling, so the eco design and the eco management, are linked together. And in this design for recycling, you have already in an idea and actually a precise knowledge about what the processes are where the material will be used again. And so this is facilitating in the paper industry these high recycling rates that were mentioned before. And that is why a short-lived product like paper can actually extend the lifespan of cellulose fibers through repeated recycling loops, where on average we have 5 to 6 loops, for example, in Europe, and where also North America is just closely behind in terms of number of loops. Next slide, please. So, but what this design for recycling is not sufficient. You need, on the other side, you need, of course, the end-of-life management, where indeed paper and board is separately collected from other waste streams, also separate from other recyclables, so that the end consumer can easily connect to that and actually buy in to go for the right product. So it is important that the sorting infrastructure is also there, and the study shows how actually paper is sorted from different collection schemes into products that can be then recycled. And so echo is over. So okay, so paper for recycling, what increases its rates is also that there is actually a strong demand for it by the paper industry again, and that takes place locally within countries, within short transport distances, but there is also a functioning market at regional level, for example, between countries around China and its neighboring countries, the countries of the European Union, or also in North America. But then there's also a global demand for it. It's a global sought for commodity, which gives, of course, a pull effect to increased collection and sorting activity. Next slide, please. So, and with that, it has been actually possible to disconnect the paper and board consumption and its development from the consumption of virgin pulp. So if we look at the graph on this slide, shows that over the last close to 30 years, the worldwide pulp and paper consumption has increased by 71%, while the virgin pulp production has been rather stable, only plus 18%. And that is due to this increased recycling that has taken place thanks to the connect between eco-design and eco-management in various regions of the world. And in this chapter about virgin and recycled materials, it's also important that the one is not just replacing the other, but that actually both parts are contributing actually to one system, and together with also these new agricultural raw materials, we are broadening the raw material base in a circular bioeconomy, which is then substituting fossil-based materials. But what is also clear, and that is explored a bit further in the study, is that if you look at life cycle assessments to look at what are the trade-offs, what are the benefits, these have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis on a specific product. You cannot then have general conclusions from them. Next slide, please. So we come to the end, and sorry if I took a bit longer, but here are then the considerations and conclusions of the study. So we see that recycling rates can be further increased. So we are already at high levels in many regions of the world. But even if that can be further increased, and for example in Europe there is this target of 90% by the sector, but also legal targets, a steady inflow of virgin fiber will continue to be needed because it's one system. We need products that are not only designed for recycling, but also contain sorting instructions for the end consumer, because we are going into a more broad portfolio of products where the consumer needs to know where to sort the product so that is actually going to recycling again. Science-based environmental footprint information helps to compare for the consumer and for the consumer to make the right choices, but the underlying information needs to be publicly available to really be able to compare products. Paper mills have a potential to be more energy self-sufficient based on renewable resources by still increasing use of residues and bioenergy. But it's also clear that for the remaining energy needs, an access to affordable clean energy is crucial, so that really to make sure that the synergy between increasing circularity and the efforts to mitigate climate change, because in recycling mills, they are still also broadly based on gas. So that access needs to be there, so to really have a synergy between the bioeconomy and the circular economy. Next slide, please. On sustainable forest management, it is important to continue the communication about it. The inflow of virgin fibers is sustainable if it comes from sustainable forest management, and when it comes from forests that are SFM and ideally SFM certified to really have a benefit to the ecosystem services and not just limit negative impacts. Recycled fibers is important to promote, but we see here really a pull because they are needed in the industry. So what is important is to overcome the bottlenecks in collection, and therefore this call for a separate paper and paperboard collection, separate from other recyclables and residual waste. And with that, I would like to end this presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. I would like to thank again Alicia for the great cooperation on this study, and to all that have reviewed it. And again, thanks to the timber section of FAO and UNECE for having given us the confidence to provide expertise for this study. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leberle, for this presentation of the publication showing the context. Okay. So muted. Yeah, I will try to continue. Yeah, I think it's better now. Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I was saying that now that in this publication there is not only consideration and concept, but also practical examples of circularity in the pulp and paper section. And so we'll now hear about some of these practical examples of circularity from different parts of the world. And our first speaker is Mrs. Sarah Price, Sustainability Director at SAPI, a leader in providing raw materials and end-use products for the pulp and paper industry. Sarah is the chairperson of the European Forever Green Initiative, a cross-industry alliance for circularity in fiber-based packaging, and is with us in the room today. Sarah, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and thank you, distinguished colleagues from UNECE and FAO for the opportunity to join today's event and publication launch, and to have the opportunity to also put a spotlight on the Forever Green Alliance and the work it does towards circularity in the pulp and paper industry. So maybe we can jump straight into the presentation. So as Yori mentioned in his opening remarks, Forever Green has its origins in CEPI about 5 years ago, when this project kicked off to really bring together actors from across the entire value chain to work together on the circularity of fiber-based packaging. And to really, we're talking about lots of different aspects of circularity today, but the focus here with Forever Green is very much on recycling and on the recycling rate. And this group of companies and organizations has set ourselves the target of achieving 90% recycling rate for fiber-based packaging in Europe by 2030. So we have a very clear focus, a clear target, and we really focus in on fiber-based packaging. And the way the Alliance works is bringing together companies from across the whole value chain. So you can see in this pie, kind of pie illustration here, all the different segments are represented, because we realize that it really takes cooperation, it takes the sharing of expertise, it takes building consensus and articulating best practice across all the different actors in the value chain if we're to move and improve recycling rates even further from where they are already today, which is already pretty good. If we go to the next slide. So here we have, like over 110 members currently in Forever Green. More are welcome. We're growing all the time. Because if people realize that to work on it's impossible to work on circularity and system level change around recyclability without working together. So it's really about collaboration and about working together towards this common goal that we've set. And we could jump to the next slide. Here I'll get into a little bit more detail about how Forever Green works and what it's focused on. And perhaps this also touches on many of the concepts that Ulrich presented in his presentation as well, because Forever Green is really focused on trying to improve, which means we need to dig into some of the challenging areas. And this is how we organize our work. So it's a technical focus with Forever Green. And we divide our work into these different work streams. The first one focuses on a recyclability evaluation protocol. And this looks to answer the question, how do I know if my fiber-based package is recyclable and where can it be recycled, right? Recycled, which type of mill? And so this gives us a clear way of interpreting the results of the CEPI test method for recyclability and giving really a common, consistent interpretation of what's recyclable where. The second work stream looks at circularity by design guideline, and we've just launched a version 3 of this guideline, and it looks to give advice to designers and packaging producers really at a specific level of which components, which materials, how do I make sure when I'm designing a package that it is circular by design and that I understand how all these components are treated in the recycling process and which ones are compatible with different recycling processes. The third area of work looks at collection and sorting. And this guidance document as well, we've just launched a version 3 a couple of weeks ago. And this brings together best practice from across Europe, looking at what are the best systems for collecting and sorting fiber-based packaging. How can we really make sure that they're going into separate streams so that the fibers are recovered at a high quality? And how can we build and improve on some of the best practice that we see today across Europe? The other areas of work are focused on standardization in the context of the packaging and packaging waste regulation and some standardization processes. We're working on trying to leverage some of our learnings into those processes, as well as finally on innovation, thinking about the future, what system level changes are required, how can our whole value chain work together to stimulate forward-looking industry and improve recycling rates. And maybe we can continue. Yeah, and so just to summarize, I think most of it's here, but essentially that the toolbox of Forever Green is focused on a harmonized way to evaluate how products are recycled and where they should be recycled. It provides a tool on the different components and elements of a package and what to consider when you're designing your products. And then finally, guidance on collection and sorting. And if you jump to the next slide, it just gives an illustration. These are 3 of the publications that the Forever Green Alliance has worked together to produce. So really involving the expertise across all of our members, putting out these guidelines and documents and different tools so that all of our companies and all of our sector as a whole can continue to improve recycling rates. So that QR code leads you to additional information. And maybe just to go, the last slide from my side is really just, a call to action. If you're interested to join or learn more, you can find all sorts of information for Forever Green on our website or on social media. And like I said, if there's interest in joining, feel free to reach out to the Secretariat and inquire. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for presenting this European Inter-Industry Alliance, which is recognized as a success story in promoting circularity in fiber-based packaging. We will now hear from Mrs. Sarita Sevoyen, Manager from Sustainability and Climate Change at Suzano, the largest pulp manufacturer in the world and one of the largest paper producers in Latin America. Sarita will share how Suzano is turning paper pots into fertilizer for surrounding communities. Sarita, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I want to thank you for having me at this event representing Suzano, and thank you, distinguished friends, FAO, for this publication with high quality information around the circularity in the forest and timber sector. Well, Suzano is the world, as said, Suzano is the world's largest producer of bio-based raw materials. Can you pass, please? Yeah, thank you. And we are cultivating trees to produce pulp and other derived products from this raw material. And as we are planting our trees in degraded land, such as pasture lands, this model can provide a relevant net benefit in terms of biodiversity and climate change. Since we are planting mosaic, we are combining both native and planting trees, looking for the water, the soil, the biodiversity, and increment the carbon stock on the land. In Suzano, we are harvesting only what we are planting, and we are conserving almost 40% of our area with native trees. Can you pass, please? As we presented, Suzano is the biggest pulp producer in the world, and our operation is mainly in Brazil. And we have 1.1 million hectares of area for conservation and protection. And we have 1.6 million hectares of forest, eucalyptus forest. But one interesting number here is that Suzano in 2024 planting almost 1.2 million trees per day. We are expanding our operation, and we are using the seedlings to have the eucalyptus, and 1.2 million seedlings was planted per day in this year. And can you pass, please? And in Suzano, everything is based in sustainability and innovation. We are currently using innovability as a word here in Suzano, which demonstrates what we are doing since the beginning of our process in our forestry operation until the product development, until what we are offering for the society as a product bio-based. Can you pass, please? And based in the trees and the pulp, as were presented here, we have such a lot of products can be produced in the pulp. In Suzano, we are doing several researches, and also we are selling some products like a fluff based in pulp, not in fossil products, paper packaging, biofuels, textiles, which can be a products that will replace the fossil fuel-based products and can help other companies and other industries in their decarbonization, in their advancement for the new society, new economy. Can you pass, please? And this product is in more than 100 countries and can impact 2 billion people. Can pass, please? It's really fast presentation and giving our representative, giving our scale, we know that we have to change the business model. We have to influence how we are doing, and not only our operation, but how we can influence our customers in their changes. Can you pass, please? And Suzanne has several long-term targets, and we are strongly committed with sustainability and circularity. We are producing energy for our operation. We are more than 90% renewable in our electric energy. We are recirculating the water in our operation, and now we want to present the innovation that we were implemented here. Can you pass, please? That we are looking not only for our operation, but understanding opportunities and alternatives that can be used in the traditional operations, and more than that, serve as example for other operations. So in our nurseries, as I said, we are planting per day 1.2 million seedlings. We need a lot of seedlings. And we have our own nurseries, and we have providers that can offer these seedlings for us. And these seedlings, in common way, it's using plastic tubs. Yeah, you have the trees, the small trees is growing in a plastic tubs that you have to do the transportation into the forest and to the farms. The innovation that we are presenting here is a biodegradable and eco-friendly paper pots. It's not a plastic pot. Of course, when we are using the plastic pots, we are reusing these several times, but the paper pot has more and more qualities to be used on the land. This paper pots nowadays is providing 4 million seedlings for the forest that it's using this paper pots. Can you please? But taking this opportunity beyond, we are implementing this solution in more new operations. We will have in 2025 a new operation that will produce 75 million seedlings using the paper pots. And this paper pots, it's really, really good for the operation. We can reduce the time of planting the seedlings in the forest. These papers, as biodegradable, can help in the tree growing. And more than that, we have residues in this operation. In the land, no, because you can use directly the paper pot. But as we have residues in our operation to produce the paper pots, we are donating these residues for families that operates in agriculture familiar operations around our operation. And this residue from the paper pot can be used as a fertilizer, can be used in the soil for increase the quality of the soil. So this solution is not a solution only to reduce the plastics in our operations, but more than that, helping a new supplier to develop a new technology, sell this technology for the worldwide, and also we can help families with this new solution. We believe this is one of the examples that Suzanne has here in Circularity, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Sarita, for presenting this project in Latin America, and which is a truly circular economy solution involving forest, agriculture, and the industry. Thank you so much. Our third example of circularity will be presented by Mrs. Jen Moloney, Executive Director of PAMSA, an industry association representing more than 90% of South African pulp, paper, board, and tissue manufacturers. Sarah will talk about the role of responsibly produced paper products for a more sustainable future. Jane, you have the floor. Excuse me.
Thank you very much. Isn't it so exciting that we work in such an incredibly renewable, truly renewable, sustainable, circular industry? And it's so good to see all of you colleagues and FAO folk on the line. Thank you for this opportunity. So I have 5 minutes. I don't have a slideshow, and I'm starting now. Right, we are truly a first and third world nation. We have around 60 million people, 13 million live in extreme poverty. And recently our president told us that 26 to 28 of those million people actually live on grants. Now, lest you think that that is a good livelihood, that amounts to around $4 a day. So why am I telling you this? Because our president a number of years ago decided that one of the areas where you could really create jobs was in the waste economy. And he launched a number of pakisas. And this pakisa in Sotho means hurry up and deliver. And the one sector that has hurried up and delivered is the pulp and paper sector. So you all know that we are truly circular. We heard from Paolo Dida how we are uniquely positioned. Yuri told us we have always been circular, and I love those paper pots. Fantastic. So in our country, we now have extended producer responsibility. The role that policy plays is very, very important. But we also heard from Ulrich how our sector and the pulp and paper industry, we are market driven. So although we do not have separation at source in our country, we have a huge need for collecting waste paper and for recycling it. More than 50% of the paper that is made in our country is made from recycled paper, and that fact that it's market driven is very, very important. Around 25% of this paper, mostly your common mixed waste paper, is collected by waste pickers. And this extended producer responsibility talks to the need for actually paying for the ecosystem services that these waste pickers do. So we are obliged to pay them a service fee. Part of that EPR legislation also sets targets. It requires life cycle assessments, and it requires that we design for recyclability. It's very much a partnership between government and industry, and those targets are changing, and the legislation is changing as we realize this works and that doesn't work. So that's a plus. What has the role of partnerships and innovation played? Paper sludge. We have legislation that anything with a moisture content higher than 40% cannot be sent to landfill. Now, you all know that fiber is designed, creation has designed it, the creators designed it to absorb moisture and never to let it go. It's extremely difficult to demoisturize your sludge. You will not get it less than 40%. So what do we do with that sludge? There are all sorts of opportunities, but one of the really exciting one is bioethanol, using yeast to produce enzymes and then to produce ethanol. So we have a pilot plant that was funded by Stellenbosch University, did research for up to 10 years, and SAPI, MPAC, two of the Paper Manufacturers Association's members, and PAMSA have funded this pilot plant. One of the business cases for making bioethanol from paper sludge is that waste-derived ethanol commands a premium in global markets. And for that, I think we have to probably thank the EU with all their subsidies and fine ideas of ensuring that the circular economy works and is motivated. I recently came back from COP29, and there we saw the opportunity for our sector and its green innovation and its skills in Mpumalanga, which is one of our provinces where there have been tremendous mining. And as we decarbonize and slowly close down our coal-fired power stations, who is going to employ those people? The Parliamentary Committee on Climate Change has identified the wood value chain. So they acknowledge that our value chain has what you would term green jobs. And we are really excited about rehabilitating mine dumps, potentially planting trees there, and then utilizing them, perhaps not for pulp and paper, but for droppers, for fencing, to ensure that the local communities can keep their cows where they should be. So that's very exciting. I see I've gone 5 minutes and 39 seconds because I pressed it a little bit before. So the last one on decarbonization is, the last one is fuel rods. So after 150 years of coal mining, there are billions of tons of discarded thermal grade fines. And these fines can be combined with a coal slurry, biomass, and lignosulfonate to have a coal replacement. One of our companies, who shall remain nameless, I think Sarah might work for them, they have been involved with developing these fuel rods, which can take the place of coal. So we grow trees and they go full circle, and we can even use potentially some of that sludge. There is also the opportunity to use it with that 1 teaspoon of fertilizer when we plant the trees for that gel that retains the moisture. So very exciting sector that we work for, and so pleased that you have come up with this publication. I remember looking at a draft back in 2023. So excited that it has been launched. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane, for highlighting the important role played by PAMSA in South Africa in promoting sustainable solutions between forestry, economy, and people. We will now hear from Mr. Terry Weber, Vice President, Industry Affairs at the American Forest and Paper Association. Terry will tell us about their design guidance for recyclability, which was created for the paper-based packaging producers. Terry, you have the floor.
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this project. So AF&PA is the National Trade Association for U.S. manufacturers of pulp, paper, packaging, tissue, and wood products. We created the design guidance for recyclability, recognizing the complexities that brands and packaging designers face in balancing design and performance with recyclability. Our goal is that this information will serve to further advance paper recycling innovation. Recycled paper is an increasingly important segment of our industry's fiber supply. Starting in 2019, our industry has completed or announced $7 billion in investment that would increase U.S. milk consumption of recycled paper by an additional 9 million tons per year. With increased interest among consumer product companies to provide more recyclable packaging, we recognize the opportunity to bring clarity to how packaging gets recycled in paper mills and how various non-fiber elements affect the recyclability of paper-based packaging. The objective of the guidance is to present research-based findings on the effect of recyclability of various non-fiber elements frequently found on paper-based packaging. It's intended to inform individuals and groups that specify design and packaging and make determinations about recyclability of packaging. We go to the next slide. The findings from the guidance are drawn from a survey of mills in a range of sectors in the United States and Canada. Mills selected for the research use recovered paper grades, likely to include the various types of recyclable paper-based packaging covered in the report. The guidance is not meant to be mandatory or a standard for the packaging industry. It presents technical guidance for members of the manufacturing supply chain to use if desired in designing and manufacturing packaging to meet customers' needs. In terms of scope, we focus on 7 common types of paper-based packaging: corrugated, bleached and recycled paperboard, carrier stock cartons, craft paper bags, multi-wall shipping sacks, and molded fiber containers. We also identified the kinds of non-fiber elements often attached to those types of packaging. 86 mills participated, representing 74% of our total consumption of the grades of recovered fiber, mixed paper, and old corrugated containers that are most likely to contain the types of packaging covered in the design guidance. So the users of the guidance can feel comfortable that the information accurately reflects the current mill experience. We go to the next slide. It offers readers a quick look at what the research findings tell us about the ease of recyclability of the 7 types of packaging with different kinds of non-fiber elements attached or applied. Across the top, we list the 7 product types included in the guide, representing the most commonly used types of packaging for shipping goods, protecting and carrying consumer products. The non-fiber elements are featured in the far left column. Green dots indicate that a packaging type with a non-fiber element is more easily recycled in mills. Gray dots indicate that the non-fiber element creates a challenge to recyclability for that type of packaging. To be categorized as a challenge, 33% or more of mill survey respondents had to rate the non-fiber element on such a particular type of packaging. We go to the next slide. The guidance includes a deep dive into each of the 7 types of paper packaging covered in the guidance. We aren't going to cover all 7 today for the sake of time, but they are included in the report, which is available for download on our website. We go to the next slide. That gives you the instructions you need to be able to download the report. We encourage everyone to share this information with colleagues in your organization or with anyone else who you think would value having this information. This is the first version of our design guidance. Our industry and customers are continuously innovating in the areas of packaging design, materials, and mill repulping technology. To ensure that we keep the technical guidance up to date, we will be periodically reviewing this content to evaluate when it makes sense to issue an update. We appreciate the opportunity to discuss this important work today.
Thank you, Terry, for presenting this initiative, which provides concrete direction for the industry on how to make their products more sustainable and their value chains more circular. And our last speaker is my colleague, Mrs. Alicia Kashprak from the joint UNECE FAO Forestry and Timber section. Alicia, you have 2 minutes to talk about how we all, as consumers, can make more circular choices with paper and paperboard products.
Thank you very much, Delphine, and hello to everyone. And first, let me start also with thanking very much to Ulrich for our great cooperation. I think we supported and inspired each other, and I'm very happy that that brought us to this event today. And we have online some people who found that this cooperation was useful. So I'm very, very glad also, and thank you again to Ulrich for this cooperation. So we talked a lot about how industry is contributing to circularity and sustainability, and it seems like they are doing a great job, and we could hear these different examples coming from different continents. But some of us who are here at this meeting are not members of the industry, and we are thinking what we can do in daily life so that we can also contribute to increase circularity and sustainability in the pulp and paper industry. So in our section, we not only provide and prepare publications, but we also work on guidelines for consumers. Easy to use, 1 page you can see on the left side of this slide. We look at different forest-based industries. So if you think about how you can be more circular as regards paper, some obvious things come to mind. First of all, is to avoid and reduce use of paper. So printing double-sided, that's something that we know, we do it. Avoid buying products that are wrapped in unnecessary packaging. Think about toothpaste that is wrapped not only in the tube, but also in the carton packaging. Other cosmetics come to mind. Also, we can opt for reusable alternatives for packaging, such as, for instance, reusable containers or washable cloth napkins. So when we move 1 step further, we can also choose recycled and certified products once we really have to purchase pulp and paper and cardboard products as a end consumer. So let us think about purchasing products that come with the recycled content. And how do we know about this? On the left-hand side of the slide, you can see that there are some certification schemes that help us to identify the products that have been from recycled, that contain the recycled fibers. And we must also know that not only the recycled fibers are used for producing paper and packaging paper, printing paper and packaging paper. We have to think that sometimes, and for the technical reasons, we still need to use virgin fibers. We cannot avoid this. And once these products contain virgin fibers, it is better that they come from the forests that are certified. And the most common, the most known schemes are FSC and PFC, and I placed the logo here so you can see it, and they are normally placed on the paper products. So when we go further, more that we can do is to facilitate recycling. And these actions are maybe not so evident, or we don't think about it, but this is the area where we can do more. So for instance, when we think about facilitating recycling, when possible, we should focus on choosing not bleached paper, but cardboard paper. How do you distinguish that? Usually the bleached paper is very white, so it's a printing paper, cardboard. Think about cleaning towels, toilet paper. You can see in your shop something very white, maybe even colored in pink or something else, versus this grayish, yellowish paper. Those grayish and yellowish are more recycled, more easy to recycle and more environmentally friendly. The easy thing that you can do is to take notes in pencil instead of pen, because then it facilitates the inking and the chemicals that are used when you clean the paper to receive the clean fibers for new paper. You can make sure that paper and cardboard are clean and dry before recycling. This is usually a problem when we dispose of things that there's like food packaging. Sometimes there are residues there. We are not so careful to clean the paper. And of course, where possible, because it's not everywhere possible, we should separate the printing papers from cardboard and carton. In some places, this is possible. In some places, this is not, but we should be aware that different types of fibers are used for these different products. And because of that, the separation facilitates recycling. With that, I thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. It's a call to all to encourage recycling, sustainable purchasing, and awareness of paper product life cycles. Thank you. And now it's time for the Q&A session, and we have around 8 minutes for a few questions. We will answer the other question in written. So maybe to start, we can ask a question to Sarita from Susano. Sarita, a question for you. What lessons have been learned from implementing your project in Latin America that could benefit similar initiatives worldwide? Could you respond to that question?
Yes, for sure. Thank you for the question. I think the first challenge was the investments to do that, where we had to prove the benefits instead the price of the solution. Yeah, to present how the solution can be more than one resource reduction, we have to show the benefits that we have. I think the thing that we can share here is the scale. Yeah, to change the operation at scale, not as a small pilot test, but we started in one operation, and after we expanded, where our new mill now will be was created with this solution. I think this is a solution for one supplier that can sell this solution for other companies, for other productions, where I think the company needs to go and understand what the changes that need necessary to be done in an operation, and prove how the solution can be better than like the plastic pots.
Thank you, Sarita. Very interesting. Thank you so much. Maybe a second question for Sarah Price of the Forever Green Initiative. Sarah, the question would be, what are the main barriers faced by the initiative in achieving widespread adoption of circular packaging solutions?
Thanks. Yeah, so looking at the barriers, it's been 5 years since Forever Green was initiated. And we've, I think, achieved a lot over those 5 years, bringing together companies, bringing together experts, sharing ideas, sharing expertise. We've completed the toolbox for Forever Green in terms of all the deliverables, but of course it takes time to implement those deliverables and really see the progress at system level. So we can already see companies implementing the guidelines, using the protocols in their daily basis, in their R&D labs, etc. So we can see lots of indicators of progress, but of course it's gonna take time to really fully leverage the deliverables. I think that most of those, I think one element that's slightly maybe outside, and Alicia, I think you hinted to it in your presentation as well, is it's also the role of consumers in supporting the circularity of fiber-based packaging. So when Forever Green launched, we really realized that where there's room to progress is on the go food packaging, out of home food packaging in the HoReCa sector, etc. So and then even at home as well. So how do we have better collection and sorting systems? How do we educate the consumers to really know where to put their packaging, so that we can make sure that those fibers get recovered, get recycled at a really high quality? And I think that's one area, you know, if we're sitting at 83% recovery rates here in Europe, to get to 90%, that's an area that we're really going to have to focus on and work even outside and around our industry to help consumers as well in their role.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Maybe two last questions. Jane, I don't know if you can respond to that questions on what steps can policymakers take to support the implementation of these circularity approaches at scale? And I have maybe to give you a bit time to think on it. Maybe the following question for Terry. Terry, what other strategies or campaigns besides the design guidance for recyclability for more sustainability in the sector have your association been engaged in? So I don't know if...
Do you want me to go on?
You maybe Jane first and then Terry go. So Jane, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, okay, thanks very much. All right, it's all very well having policy, and it's wonderful. We are the best, no, I wouldn't say we're the best legislators, but we have a fantastic constitution, we have fantastic legislation. But where we fall down is in actually not so much the implementation, but in policing it. So we have lots of free riders for EPR. So I would advise, before anybody launches any sort of new policy, that you ensure that you have your green scorpions or your blue scorpions, or whichever department is going to enforce it, you have them all skilled up and ready to go. Because if you're not going to enforce it, then I'm afraid there are always going to be companies that are not going to actually abide by it. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much, Jane. Terry, you have the floor if you can respond to the other strategies or campaign.
I think there are two things that we're focused on that I'd highlight in response to that question. One is extended producer responsibility is just starting to be adopted in North America. It's still a relatively new concept to the continent, but we've been working pretty closely with policymakers. It's primarily being looked at the state level. I think it's really, really important for us as an industry. We've made so many voluntary investments in paper recycling and market-based solutions for recycling that it's really important that we take the time to get that extended producer responsibility policy right. That it still allows for market-based solutions and innovative solutions and doesn't become a barrier to innovation and create barriers to entry in the marketplace that are so high that it's ultimately going to be a barrier to improving the recycling system. And then I think for us, the second piece is increasing education around kind of historical truths or myths that people think about paper recycling. We've done campaigns on the recyclability of pizza boxes, for example, corrugated pizza boxes, paper cups, which are their mill acceptance for recyclability has been increasing. But there's a historical perception that consumers have that those products are not recyclable, and it's really challenging to overcome those historical perceptions when mill technology is changing, when sorting technology and capabilities are changing. There's just so much innovation going on. It's really important to constantly be doing that education so that consumers are aware of what the latest technology and capabilities are in the system.
Thank you very much, Terry. And time flies, and we are now coming to the end of our Q&A session. And so we will respond to the other questions in written. To close today's session, we are pleased to hear from Mr. Rachad Al-Kafaji, who will share some final reflections and closing remarks. Thanks to all our speakers, and Rachad, you have the floor.
Thank you, moderator. And let me start, as we are concluding this event, by expressing my appreciation and that of us as organizers. I think I'm even the officer in charge for Geneva today, so I can speak in the name of Geneva and Brussels jointly in saying that we really appreciate all the speakers, all the contributors for their invaluable insights. I believe that listening to your experiences, and these experiences also coming from various parts of the world, really makes a difference. It was truly educational for me, and it was inspiring to see that there is so much happening. So, muito obrigado, and thank you. I also like to thank the participants who stayed with us until the end of this event, and I hope that this event was also informative for them. It is my true belief that this event and similar events demonstrate the critical role of innovation, collaboration, and sustainability in ensuring that the pulp and paper industry continues to thrive while aligning with the needs of our environment. I thank you once again for your engagement and commitment, and I look forward to our continued collaboration as we work all together towards a future that contains a better production for better nutrition and a better environment and a better life, leaving no one behind. Thank you very much.